All right, hello. Welcome to my channel. I'm Thomas, and we do educational videos here on this channel. And today is the 97th video that we've done on the reciprocal system of theory. This is a theory of everything proposed by Dewey B. Larson back in the 20th century, all the way from his first intuitions about this about 1930, all the way up until his death in 1990. He started writing books. I think his first book came out in 1959. It took him a long time to work out the system, and after that, he wrote many, many books, many, many articles, most of them on hard sciences, science, chemistry, physics, astronomy. And but we're looking right now at his final book that actually came out posthumously in 1995, called Beyond Space and Time. And this is his attempt to get into metaphysics, psychology, religion, philosophy, and things like that, kind of woo-woo, ESP, and so on. And the basic idea behind Larson's whole reciprocal system is that the universe is made out of motion, not matter, not energy. In fact, matter and energy are just kinds of motion. But the universe is made out of motion. Motion is the relationship between space and time. Space and time are reciprocals of each other, and hence the reciprocal system of theory. Space and time are like two fractions, 3/4 and 4/3. Those are reciprocals of each other. They're inversions of one another. And so what qualities adhere to one also adhere to the other. Space is 3 or more dimensional, and therefore time is 3 or more dimensional. Time is flowing or progressing, always getting later and later. Therefore, space is flowing or progressing, always getting farther and farther apart, like the distant galaxies that are receding from each other. The further away they are, the faster away they're receding. And also another aspect of the reciprocal system is that both space and time are quantized, meaning that they only come in discrete units. There is no continuity there. They come in chunks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. And but those units are very, very small. So it kind of looks like they're continuous, but they are actually discrete. And 1 unit of space in 1 unit of time is the speed of light. And the speed of light is not the maximum speed of the universe, like Einstein says, but according to Larson, the speed of light is the null point, or the midpoint, or the neutral point, or the origin of the universe. And there is an entire half of the universe that is beyond the speed of light. He calls that the cosmic sector, or faster than the speed of light. He calls that the cosmic sector, or sector 2. And then there is a half of the universe that's slower than the speed of light. That is our familiar universe, the universe of material. He calls it the material sector, or sector 1. And that's the realm of atoms and molecules, and they build up over time to their most complicated, complex level, which is DNA, which contains a few billion atoms per molecule. At that level, DNA becomes eligible to be controlled by an entity from sector 2. And when those two entities, one from sector 1 and one from sector 2, come together in a stable formation, Larson calls that the life unit. Life is a combination of a material and cosmic sector entities. And that life unit then develops or evolves over time to its most complex level, which Larson refers to as the intelligent human being. At that point, the intelligent human being becomes eligible to be controlled by a Sector 3 unit. And Sector 3 is the area that is beyond space and time, independent of space and time. Other people might have called this God or goddess or the gods or the religious, the numinous, the spiritual. Larson calls it Sector 3, and I would point at this realm of the speed of light there between the two sectors as being that origin, that realm that kind of comes before, although that's, that already is invoking time. But it was there. And that Sector 3 entity is directed toward ethical behavior or good behavior, just behavior, and it sometimes conflicts with the Sector 2 entity, which is guided by survival or animal behavior. And so sometimes those are in conflict, and at that point, the human being needs to use their free will to decide which option to choose. Many times they work in harmony. And Larson points out that it's actually many more times than you might guess that they do work in harmony. This Sector 3 entity communicates with the human being, the intelligent human being, through things such as ESP, intuition, revelation, insight, beatific visions, and the like. And those communications that we get are always correct. Our ability to translate them correctly is limited. We have to perceive ourselves as being kind of like single-celled organisms of spirituality. We are just beginning our path. We just crossed, we are just crossing into this Sector 3 territory. We just got to the point where we're intelligent humans. We just got to the point where we are eligible to have this Sector 3 entity communicating with us. So it would make sense that we're not quite adept at translating the messages that we're getting from Sector 3. But some of them are easier than others. Regular intuition is a lot easier to decipher than scientific insight, which requires great amounts of preparation, background information, and so on. Same with religious revelation. You have to have the background to be able to translate those messages. Anyway, we are looking then at Larson's final book, Beyond Space and Time, and he is here in this chapter that is called East and West, where he's kind of comparing the East and West religions. And just before this, he was kind of talking about a rapprochement between science and religion, and stated kind of his purpose, his idea was that he's really attempting to put religion on a scientific basis, to recognize that through the reciprocal system, we can understand religion in the same way that we understand science, in a more positive way, more definite way, with equations and so on. So now he's in this chapter, he's attempting to kind of compare and contrast the religious revelations the intuitions that Western people have gotten and that Eastern people have gotten, and how they compare with one another. So we're actually taking over right in the middle of a paragraph, but here comes Larson. It is true that since the ultimate source of the information derived from intuition is the metaphysical existence, that's the sector 3 calls the metaphysical, beyond space and time. The intuition itself is merely a transmission mechanism. But so far as the human individual is concerned, it is the only thing with which he deals. In a sense, therefore, it is a source of information, an intermediate source, we may say. A person who is confronted with a simple ethical problem needs nothing more than intuition to obtain the answer. If he is confronted with a simple physical problem, however, he cannot get an answer from reason alone. Reason must have some information on which to operate. And that reason, that is a sector 2 entity. Okay, remember the prerequisite for sector 3 is an intelligent human being. So the intelligence, the reason, comes from sector 2. Reason must have some information on which to operate. In order to arrive at the desired answer, this individual must first obtain relevant data from empirical sources. He can then apply reason to these data and ultimately reach some conclusions. It does not necessarily follow that reason is applicable to the processing of empirical information only. It can equally well be applied to the examination or extension of information derived originally from intuition. The methods of verification of the assertions of religious revelation were discussed in chapter 10 are examples of the application of reason to intuitive data. Whenever a scientist undertakes to verify by means of the standard procedures of science an idea that he has obtained in a flash of insight, he is likewise applying reason to information derived from an intuitive source. Nevertheless, in actual practice, reason has not been applied to information from intuitive sources in anywhere near the degree that has been the rule in the empirical field. There are a number of reasons for this. Perhaps the most significant is the authoritarian nature of religious revelations. In theory, the Eastern attitude toward revelation is not authoritarian. Quoting Raju, everyone can have the revelation. Everyone can become a Buddha. But in practice, this author admits the particular revelation ascribed to the founder of the religion is accepted as authoritative. Buddhists in general are not guided by their own revelations, if they receive any. They accept the teachings of Buddhism. And as Raju says, Buddhism is Buddha's religion. The Western religions take the authoritarian attitude from the start. Each claims that its revelation is unique and ultimate. Application of reasoning to an authoritative revelation is by definition presumptuous and serves no useful purpose. The fact that reason does not enter into the conception of an intuitive or revelatory idea likewise discourages the application of reasoning to the examination of such ideas. Conversely, where the source of the information is empirical, reasoning is essential in order to put the raw data into a form in which it can be used. Its employment for this purpose as a matter of necessity then fosters a tendency to extend its application to an examination of revelatory pronouncements as well. The extent to which reason is applied to the extension and elaboration of religious ideas thus depends largely on the magnitude of the empirical content of those ideas. The philosophical outlook has been an important factor here. All of the major religions and philosophies rely upon revelation or intuition for at least some of their basic ideas. But Western philosophy is primarily concerned with information derived from empirical sources, and this philosophical attitude has had a profound effect on the Western religious views. Oriental philosophies, on the other hand, rely just as strongly on intuition as the corresponding religions. In fact, philosophy is not differentiated from religion to anywhere near the same extent as in the West. Indian philosophy has a pronounced religious character, so much so that foreigners find it difficult, this is a quote, foreigners find it difficult to say whether Indian philosophers are discussing philosophy or religion. In China, the situation is reversed, and the religions are more like philosophies. There is a long-standing difference of opinion as to whether Confucianism is a religion or a philosophy. Taoism, one of the other indigenous Chinese religions, is described by Raju in these words. Taoism is a kind of nature mysticism, understanding nature in the sense of human nature or some ultimate natural principle in human nature, not physical nature. Okay, back to Larson. Application of reason to any body of subject matter ultimately involves going beyond the immediately apprehended elements of the situation under consideration and into an unseen realm known only by inference and deduction. Physical science, for example, deals largely with abstract concepts such as forces and fields, which are accessible only by way of reasoned inferences. Reasoning in the philosophical and religious fields in the West has produced similar results, and the basic assertions of the Western religions are mainly concerned with the unseen world, the spiritual forces and fields, we might say. On the other hand, the Eastern religions are primarily concerned with that which is immediately accessible, either to the senses or by intuition. As expressed by Northrop, the Orientals, quote, consistently restrict themselves to the immediately apprehended, branding all logically inferred, theoretically designated reality as illusory. Another quote from Radha Krishnan. To know reality, one must have an actual experience of it. And the end quote. And Larson says, and he views reason as having only a limited capability. And then back to Radha Krishnan, there is a higher way of knowing reality beyond the reach of reason, namely the direct perception or experience of the ultimate reality, which cannot be known by reason in any of its forms. Reason can demonstrate the truth, but reason cannot discover or reach the truth. End quote. Back to Larson. On this Oriental basis, the metaphysical and religious realities, whatever they may be, are operating within the immediately apprehended universe. In religious language, they are immanent. The extension of religious thought by reasoned inference in the West has transferred the ultimate religious realities into the realm beyond the reach of immediate apprehension, where they are said to be transcendent. And he says also in some Western thinking, they are both immanent and transcendent. This transcendental nature of the Western religions leads to a perception of human life as a progression along a one-way path toward a higher, more advanced existence, and to the characterization of these religions as linear. The Eastern religions, which see all human existence as bound up in the immediately apprehended universe, regard human life as a never-ending cycle, symbolized by the wheel in both Hinduism and Buddhism. For this reason, they are classified as cyclical religions. While it would seem, on first consideration, that there is a direct conflict here, a closer analysis shows that these different views are both consistent, in the religious areas to which they are applicable, with the findings set forth in the preceding pages of this work. Religion, we find, deals with certain aspects of Sector 3 existence. One of the manifestations of that existence is the non-physical component of the human personality, level 3 of human life, as we have called it. So level 3 of human life is the part of human life that is influenced by Sector 3. Any concept of ultimate reality that restricts itself to the immediately apprehended in the manner indicated by Northrop and Radhakrishnan limits its view of the metaphysical sector. Sector 3 to the manifestation of the sector in the human level 3. From this viewpoint, the religious realities, like the physical realities, are seen as wholly contained within the physical universe. Inasmuch as the development of the reciprocal system of theory has now identified the physical universe as a cyclical entity, it follows that the cyclical view of ultimate reality that is common to the Eastern religions is correct as far as it goes. Thus, the revelations from which this view was derived were, in this respect, authentic. Okay, we're going to leave it there, where he's going to go into the Western religions here, but he's saying that the cyclical view of Eastern religions is correct as far as it goes. And tomorrow we'll go into his discussion of the Western religions here too. All right, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next time. Have a great day.